You have 48 hours to vacate the premises, Mr. Kelleher. The words just hung there, stuck in the cold mountain air. She didn't shout 'em. She placed 'em like tiny, perfect icicles right between my eyes. This was Evelyn Roth. And in Ravenwood Bluffs, that name means, well, it means everything. She stood on the gravel path I'd spent 3 weeks laying, wearing a blazer that probably cost more than my truck. And the smell of her perfume, this sharp, expensive pine scent, was already trying to chase the smell of welding smoke and hot steel out of the air. Her assistant, a kid who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, just stared at his clipboard, refusing to make eye contact. I'd been there a year. A year of my life poured into this ruin. See, after my fabrication shop in the city went under, I was broke. I mean really broke, sleeping in my truck broke. I saw this listing for a county tax auction. Lot 47, Serpent River. Delinquent for 40 years. I showed up, nobody else even bid. And I got it. $1. The auctioneer laughed. $1. When I first saw it, I understood why. It wasn't a cabin. It was a collapsed stone building, maybe an old smithy or a foundry buried in blackberry vines. The roof was gone, the walls were crumbling, but the forge was still there. A massive stone hearth and chimney, built by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. So I worked. I slept in a tent. I hauled stone out of the riverbed by hand. I relearned masonry from YouTube videos. I rebuilt the walls, welded a new steel roof framework. I was a metal guy, a welder, and this place, it felt like it was waiting for me. About 6 months in, while I was cleaning the soot off the massive iron fire back inside the forge, I found it. It wasn't initials. It was a stamp forged right into the metal, a perfect tiny phoenix rising over an anvil. It was beautiful. I ran my thumb over it every single day, and now Evelyn Roth was here to tell me it wasn't mine. "There must be some mistake, ma'am," I said, wiping grease from my hands onto an old rag. "I have the deed. I bought it. Free and clear from the county." Evelyn gave this little smile. It was slow and it didn't touch her eyes. Her gaze flicked past me, at the smithy, right at the forge, and for half a second her expression tightened. It looked like recognition or maybe hunger. "Your paperwork." "Mr. Kelleher," she said, her voice dropping into this confidential, almost pitying tone, "is irrelevant. This parcel sits adjacent to the Ravenwood Bluffs Association. We amended our covenants last spring. This land was always historically meant to be part of the Bluffs community. And your structure violates at least 18 zoning and safety regulations." The kid with the clipboard finally looked up. "Unauthorized forge operations, non-compliant septic, improper foundation, 18? I almost laughed. "Ma'am, this building was here before this town was a town. The foundation is the bedrock it's sitting on. That's the problem, isn't it?" she said, turning to leave. "It's just old. We're trying to build a future here." She paused, looking back over her shoulder, the smile gone. 48 hours, or we will bring the sheriff to remove you. And Mr. Kelleher, we always win." I stood there, watching her pristine SUV crawl back down the mountain road. They weren't after the shack. This place sat on a ridge overlooking the entire valley. It was a $10 million view. And I was just the guy who owned the dirt. That night, I didn't sleep. Around 2 a.m. I heard it, an ATV, running without its lights, buzzing the edge of my property line. Then the next morning, a drone. Just hanging there, 50 feet up, a little red eye staring at me while I drank my coffee. They weren't just trying to evict me. They were trying to intimidate me. Make me run. I knew I needed help. Not just a lawyer, but a local lawyer. They call him Sully. Art Sullivan. His office is above the hardware store. Smells like dust and stale coffee. And he's got case files stacked high enough to be load-bearing walls. He listened to the whole thing, just leaning back in his chair, cleaning his glasses with his tie. When I finished, he sighed, putting his glasses back on. "Evelyn Roth." He said it like he'd just tasted something sour. "Oh, hell, son. You didn't just step on a snake. You stepped on the nest." "What do you mean?" "The Roth family," Sully said, gesturing out the window at the town, "basically founded Ravenwood. Owned all this land generations back. Lost most of it in the Depression, including that ridge you're on. Evelyn. Evelyn's been on a 30-year mission to buy it all back. She uses that HOA like her own personal piggy bank and legal hammer. If she wants that land, she's not doing it for the HOA, she's doing it for herself. But the deed's good. Sully slammed his hand on the desk, making a coffee mug jump. But she'll bury you. She'll file injunctions, liens. She'll bleed you dry until that dollar purchase costs you $200,000 in legal fees. She's done it before. I felt the air go out of me. I was broke. I couldn't fight that, so... What, I just leave? Sully squinted at me. You said you found a mark? In the forge? Yeah, I said, pulling out my phone and showing him the picture. A phoenix on an anvil, his eyes lit up. I'll be damned. He picked up his phone, dialed a number. Mrs. Petrov? Sully, yeah, I'm fine. Listen, I'm sending a young man over. He's got something you need to see. Something about the old Vane property. He hung up. Go to the Historical Society. It's the old red schoolhouse. Ask for Mrs. Petrov. Don't argue with her. Just listen, Mrs. Petrov was... Well, she was terrifying. A tiny woman in her 80s with a silver braid down her back, sharp as a tack. She hated Evelyn Roth, hated her. She said Evelyn's grandfather had stolen her grandmother's recipe for prize-winning preserves at the 1953 county fair, and she'd never forgotten it. I showed her the picture of the forged stamp. She didn't say anything. She walked into the back room, and I heard her rummaging for 10 minutes. She came back carrying a huge leather-bound book, slamming it on the table and blowing a cloud of dust off the cover. Silas Vane, she said. Arrived here in 1882, a blacksmith. An artist, really. The man was a master. Built the gates for the governor's mansion in Denver. Then he just vanished. Came up here to Ravenwood to get away from the noise, he said. She opened the book. And there it was. Sketches of his work and his maker's mark. The phoenix on the anvil. This is him, I whispered. He built the smithy. He did, Mrs. Petrov said, her voice dropping. He got into a massive dispute with the town founders. Guess who? The Roths, Evelyn's great-grandfather, Alistair Roth. Wanted Vane to forge the ironwork for his new hotel for practically nothing. Vane refused. Roth tried to run him off the land. She pointed to a faded newspaper clipping. Then one day, Silas Vane was just gone. The smithy was abandoned. Roth claimed Vane had skipped town. Sully's advice was simple. Don't pick a fight you can't win in public. Evelyn had already called an emergency town hall meeting. She was going to use the town's desperation for new development to railroad me. She was painting me as the crazy mountain squatter standing in the way of progress. The high school gymnasium was packed. The air was thick and hot. The whole town was there, not with pitchforks, but with something worse. Worried, hopeful faces. Evelyn was at the podium, all grace and concern. A projector screen behind her. The Ravenwood Gateway Project, she announced. And a slick architectural rendering of a massive luxury condo development appeared. Jobs, tax revenue, a future for our children. The crowd, they applauded. This project, she continued, will utilize the bluffs, revitalizing the land, bringing prosperity we haven't seen in decades. There is only one small obstacle. The slide changed. It was a picture of my smithy, the one the drone took, an unauthorized, unsafe structure occupied by a non-resident, blocking the very entrance to our town's future. A man in the back yelled, "Kick him out, Evie." "Mr. Kelleher," she said, spotting me in the back row, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "We have offered to relocate you, but you've refused to cooperate. You are holding this entire community hostage." The crowd turned. The looks weren't just angry. They were desperate. These people needed this. "Now," Evelyn said, turning back to the town council, "I need an emergency vote to authorize the association, in partnership with the county." Excuse me," Sully's voice cut through the room. It wasn't loud, but it stopped everything. He was standing by the old overhead projector in the corner, the kind the teachers use. "Excuse me, Madam Chairwoman," Sully said, walking forward. "Before we vote on revitalizing a piece of land, shouldn't we confirm who actually owns it?" Evelyn froze. "Mr. Sullivan, this is a community meeting. Your client has no standing." "My client," Sully said, dropping a transparency onto the projector, "is Mr. Sam Kelleher, And he is the community. The projector hummed, and the image of the homestead patent signed by President Grant filled the screen. A collective gasp went through the room. This, Sully announced, his voice booming in the suddenly silent gym, is the original 1875 patent for 160 acres, granted to Mr. Silas Vane, an ironclad federal document. Evelyn was pale. That's ancient history. That land was sold. It's been subdivided? You're right, Sully said, swapping the transparency. It was, most of it. The new image was the ledger page. The bill of sale from 1884. Sully had circled the coordinates in red marker, sold to Alistair Roth, except for the 2-acre Smithy plot, which Mr. Vane explicitly withheld, the very land your gateway project needs for its entrance. You could hear a pin drop. Evelyn was shaking, her composure gone. This is a forgery. It's slander. He's a desperate— Is it a forgery, Evelyn? Sully asked, his voice suddenly soft. Because the originals are currently with the State Attorney General's office. They're very interested in the Ravenwood Bluffs Association's land acquisition practices. Very interested in how many other properties you've absorbed using amended covenants that conflict with original patents. Evelyn looked trapped. She stared at Sully, then at the council, then at the townsfolk, who were no longer looking at her with hope, but with dawning, horrified realization. She didn't say a word. She just grabbed her briefcase and walked out. The side door slammed shut, echoing in the gym. The project was dead. The town council voted to open a full investigation into the HOA. The Attorney General's office, as it turned out, was very interested, not just in my land, but in 3 other properties Evelyn had acquired. I won. I kept the smithy. The case was dropped. The land was mine, free and clear, forever. That was 6 months ago. I'm still here. I rebuilt the forge better this time. The stone is solid. The phoenix on the anvil is clean. The view, well, the view is still $10 million, but the victory, it doesn't feel like I thought it would. Evelyn's gateway project died, all right. The investors pulled out the second the AG's name was mentioned. The jobs, the tax revenue, all of it vanished, and the town is quiet. When I go to the diner for coffee now, the conversations just stop. When I walk into the hardware store for welding gas, everyone suddenly gets real busy. I get nods. But they're cold. I saved Silas Vane's legacy. I got justice for a man who's been dead for 140 years. I beat the bully. I won, but I'm the man who killed their future. I'm the guy who stopped progress. I exposed the Roth family, but in the process I exposed the town's desperate hope. And then I took it away. I'm sitting on my ridge in my $1 smithy, watching the sunset over the valley. And I've never felt more alone. I won the battle. But sometimes, late at night, when the wind comes down the mountain, I have to wonder, did I actually lose the war? So here's my question for you. What is justice? Was I right to stand my ground, protecting history and my own property, even if it cost the whole town a chance at a better future? Or should I have taken the buyout? Let me know what you would have done in the comments, because honestly,